But the problem is the government have had net zero as their top priority when it comes to energy policy for such a long time. And that, unfortunately, has come at the expense of affordability and also, as we've seen, security of supply. So at the moment, we have a gas supply crisis. It is gas that's going up in price extremely, and that's what is affecting people's bills massively. So for the moment, we're going to have to go cap in hand, as Keir Starmer said, to those regimes that we don't particularly approve of. And we're going to have to start drilling in our own country. I think that's a necessity now.
John Sargent, do you have any concerns about scrapping these green levies?
I do. No, I think the concern is simply this question of keeping people concentrating on the long-term problem of climate change and how do we cope with that. Now, what you can't do is you can't say to people in November, this is incredibly important, we've got a plan at COP26 and everybody must think about it. And then, oh, by the way, oh, whoops, it's a bit tricky, let's not think about it at all. So my thought about as far as the green levy is concerned, I think it should go down to zero now and then go back up when fuel prices go down again. So at least you make sure that you've got the prospect of putting people off fossil fuels through the price mechanism. Now, it may sound sort of a pompous way of looking at it, but you've got to keep people concentrating on the idea, not tomorrow, not next week, but in the end, we've all got to think about climate change up until, well, those of us still alive, up until 2050, when we're trying to meet net zero. But if we give it up, if you give up one of these things completely now, people say, oh, thank goodness that's all over. We don't need to bother about climate change. We've got to bother about climate change in the long term.
But not when people are struggling.
Not when people are struggling.
And keep themselves warm.
And that's the reality at the moment.
Yeah, the reality is people are really struggling. Heating or eating, people are really struggling. And until you're in their shoes, you can't say, well, actually, we should be thinking of the climate. I know we should be thinking of the climate, but people are struggling and they're going to struggle further